All right, it's 3 o'clock, and we're going to open up this public work session regarding the Simla water infrastructure and funding for the project. So, thank y'all for coming down today. Appreciate that. Yeah, absolutely. Just got a little bit of an agenda that Wendy put together for us real quick, and his main objective here is to see what we can do to bring attention and get you guys some funding somehow. See what that's going to look like. What we'd like to do is talk about the grants. We also would like to, or we've been told that Congresswoman Elbert would like to see about some federal aid and helping there as well. So I guess what we're really on is just sort of a fact-finding mission here to try to figure out exactly what we need to do. What are the first steps, and try to help you out if we can. So another mic coming up here. So with that, if you could just sort of, somebody wants to give us maybe a 30,000-foot overview of what you're facing in Simla.
Sure.
Yeah, you can do that. Sure. Okay, well, we'll start with you, sir.
There we go. Well, one, thank you for having me. My name is Todd Leopold. I work for the Department of Local Affairs. I'm the regional representative for this region, including Simla and the surrounding kind of metro area. And so I think part of the discussion today is what options and how we can support you in the town moving forward.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Ashley Deanne, and I'm the grant specialist contracted with Elbert.
My name is Jackie Rapp. I'm the new town administrator.
Ryan Fulmer, Mayor of Simla.
Mike McEwen, Public Works Director in Simla.
Dal Schroeder, Elbert County Commissioner.
Byron McDaniel, Elbert County Commissioner.
Mike Buck, Elbert County Commissioner.
Lance Ingalls, County Attorney.
Wendy Holmes, Elbert County Communication and Public Affairs Director.
Right. Mayor, do you want to kick it off with sort of give us an overview of what you're looking at, what you're facing with the town?
So Mike's going to really know the more meat and potatoes of it, but just to give you an overview, we have discolored water is the main complaint from residents. The taste is not appealing. I personally don't drink it, and that's a lot. There's a lot that needs to be done in order to get it to where it needs to be, to where the residents would expect it to be. It meets all requirements by the CDPHE, so it's not undrinkable. You can drink it; it won't make you sick or anything, but there's a lot of room for improvement to get to where we're not getting complaints from the residents. And I'll let Mike get into the specifics about what we would need.
Another question for you though, but when you're talking about CDPHE and they approve it, but I mean, how can they approve it? I mean, I've seen it. I wouldn't drink it.
You have minimum contaminant levels. We're under. We're still at high levels for clarity, taste, things like that. So I have a question as well. How many residents, percentage-wise, of the population of the town are affected? Is it everybody in town, or have some of it been repaired or replaced in the past, and that portion of the town is okay now? Just kind of give me an idea of how widespread the issue is.
It's throughout town. Some areas are worse than others. Some of it has been replaced with PVC, which helped, but it's the brown water travels because we have a loop system. So we flush a hydrant here, and all the brown water goes here. So we flush a hydrant there, it goes to another area down. So everybody in town is affected by it.
So the work you've done, that's not a permanent solution. That's just a temporary.
Correct.
To get through. Okay. I'm sorry, you can go ahead. I was just making some notes.
Okay. I printed these out. 2018, our engineers did a preliminary study. A lot of this comes from there. We are trying to get our new engineers to do a new study, but that's $20,000. In 2018, they told us if we made the repairs they suggested, it would take care of our problem. At the time, it was $1.3 million. Then COVID hit, and they had that big freeze in Texas, which destroyed a lot of the PVC piping. So the prices went up to $1.8 million. Right now, at the tanks, we have 3 tanks. One of them has been taken out of the system because it had lead-based paint in it. So we have 2 tanks. The highest level tank that we can use only provides 22 psi right around the tanks. CDPHE recommends 35 psi. So one thing we need is either a taller tank or to add a booster pump. In 2022, they actually started that project. They replaced about 7,000 feet of pipe. We still have 3 roads, 14,000 feet of cast iron piping that was installed around 1914. So those 3 pipes, we use sodium chloride for bleach to disinfect the water, which reacts with the cast iron pipe, and that's what causes a lot of the brown water. So we would need to replace those 3 streets. Another problem we have, we can do flushing the hydrants, which helps clear out that brown water, but we don't have 4-way valves on every intersection. So a lot of times we would have to shut off 7 or 8 valves to flush one section of road. So we need more valves put in so we could do, shut off and flush one section and just keep moving. So chlorine requires a minimum of 30 minutes to disinfect groundwater, which is what Simla uses. Our current system, we have 5 wells, and when they kick on, the water goes directly into the distribution system instead of going all the way to the tanks to get treated there. So while those tanks are pumping, it's up to about an hour and a half they pump every time they kick on. Anybody that uses water during that time, the water's not disinfected because it takes 30 minutes and they're using the water right away. So one thing we would like to do is get the water pumped up to the water storage tanks, treat it there, and then put it into the distribution system so the disinfectant has longer to work. In the summertime, those wells kick on 3 times a day, which is about 6 hours, so potentially 25% of our water being consumed is not properly disinfected. To do that would take about 6,700 feet of piping to get the water from the 5 wells up to the tanks to be treated. One of the main problems we have, our wells are 55 to 78 feet deep. It's an alluvial aquifer and that has high levels of iron, manganese, chloride, sulfates, fluoride, nitrates, and dissolved solids. And like I said, the chlorine reacts with the cast iron pipes, brought some water. This I took today. That's not typical of the town, but it's not uncommon.
That's what I was talking about, gentlemen, the other day when I was sitting there. I said it looks like tea.
Yeah. And that's from one of our bad areas in town. I took that just this morning.
I wouldn't shower in that. I wouldn't.
That's a problem we have. A lot of our residents have put in water softeners or water filtration systems. Water softeners seem to work better, but I know people that have water filtration and they buy 6-month filters. They're replacing them every month. The aerators on your kitchen and sink faucets, they fill up with that iron, so a lot of people just take their aerators off and run the water straight through, but we have several residents that say they go through a washing machine about every 18 months. They have to replace their washing machine.
I can't even see that light fixture up there through that.
So if you had a whole house system and you used a filter, would it take care of that?
Temporarily. It does
For a
help.
month maybe?
Yeah,
or
like I said, they get filters that are supposed to last 6 months, and they replace the filters every month because they get so clogged. We have people call us and they say, we have no water pressure. First thing we do is, have you replaced your filters? Nope. So they replace the filters and they get the water pressure.
Couple of things. I don't see how CDPHE could have ever approved.
Well, like I said, this is not typical. That's not uncommon, but it's not typical. We take our samples from the wells, and then there's 6 houses that we take our E. coli samples from, and they can't use filtration for that. But a lot of times there's bad areas, but when we take the samples, it doesn't always look like that. Like I said, this is from one of our worst areas in town, and we flush the hydrants there about twice a month in the summertime, about once a month in the wintertime. The problem is with all that iron in the system, when you flush a hydrant, the water goes through, it settles down as people are taking it. But then when we pump the water, it stirs all that up when we flush the hydrants. And, that's a 20-ounce bottle. We have a 250,000 gallon storage tank. So when they come out and do the inspections on that, there's 8 to 10 inches of sediment in the bottom of those tanks that they try to flush out.
And then what point would you have to issue a boil water notice when PSI? You said, is it 22 standard?
Yeah, that's up at the top of the hill where the water tanks are.
Right.
Because a foot of water is 2 PSI. The highest we can go is 49 feet. So right there at the water tanks, there's 7 or 8 houses around there. They only have 22 gallons.
But my point, you're getting close at 22. It gets much lower. You'd have to issue a boil water notice, wouldn't you?
I believe it's under 20.
Under 20? So, I mean, you're right there at
Yeah.
that was my point.
Yeah.
You're right there at the line.
Yep. Tanks are at the top of the hill in Simla. Down on the north side of 24, they get about 50 PSI there. So the areas right around the water tanks have the low pressure.
I don't see how they can't see this as a public health issue.
I would think it would be an economic issue as well. It would affect the economic viability of the town.
Yeah.
If I was looking at a property or wanting to buy a home in Simla, and I had multiple choices throughout Colorado or throughout Elbert County, that would not be my first choice if we did a water test or tried the water or had an inspector go over there, and that was the result that came back.
Talked to the CRWA, their Colorado Rural Water Association. They said a lot of towns like ours charge $100 for water and $100 for wastewater. But the complaints we get about water, we're charging $43 a month, and people are still complaining. We pay this much for water and we can't even drink it. So it's definitely been a challenge.
So ultimately, what we would need to get it to the right point is pumping the water into storage tank, treating it there with a water treatment facility, and then sending it out. We could add booster pumps if we needed, or higher water tank to get the pressure, treat the water. That'll take care of the issues, and then send it out to the town. But with the 5 wells pumping directly into the system, there's just nothing we can do without that 6,700 feet of piping to get it to one central location.
What do you think that 6,700 feet of piping would cost? Just curious.
It started at 1.3, and then COVID hit, and they came back, and then all of a sudden it was over 2 million. We cut some stuff from the project in order to get it to where our grants would cover it. So maybe the prices have come down on piping, but I doubt it.
Doubt it. Yeah. So my just concern, and I just want to highlight that, is this, as you've even stated here, impacts effectiveness of the chlorine and to disinfect and kill the bacteria. There is a lot more to this than what first thought.
CDPHE allows us 0.2 to 4 parts per million for chlorine. A lot of parts in town were at just over that, 2.8, which means the chlorine's not taking care of the problem. Luckily, we've never had an E. coli sample in our water, drinking water.
Is that cast iron? Is that a 1-inch pipe? Really?
And you said that was put in 1914, right?
What about to the individual residents, though, from the street to the resident?
We just did lead copper analysis. We're lead free, copper free, or not copper free, but we're lead free. There's still some lead goosenecks, but we replace those as we find them for other problems. There's a couple lac pipe. Most of it's copper, or most of the newer houses are the blue bags.
Gotcha. But that's the 1-inch.
Part of that water project, I watched, because they'd exposed the other pipes, and the 6-inch pipe only had about 4 inches of water that could flow through it. It was so contaminated.
Mm-hmm.
This.
Yeah.
Can I keep this? Thank you.
He can get more.
Just in case he gets thirsty later.
Yeah.
You had mentioned grant possibilities before that you'd looked at. Where did that end up? Didn't that come to fruition? What ended up happening with that?
We did get a grant for the initial water project, and where that project failed is at the start of it, we asked our engineering company, we said, we want to know everything we need to do to get our water back to where it needs to be. And they came in and said, this is what you need to do. And we trusted that, and we did all of those things, and it didn't fix the problem. We have switched engineering companies because of that. We were with that engineering company for years and years and years, and we feel that they really did a disservice to the town by missing a lot of the problems that we had, and we need to do it again. So the first step we have to take is to get our new engineering company to come in and say, this is what you need, this is how much it'll cost. $20,000 just to do that. So that's where we're at right now, is looking for that $20,000 to even get started.
I talked to the engineers when they came out. Pueblo, Navajo, and Ute are still cast iron. And I asked the engineering company about it, and they said, well, we couldn't determine what it is. I guess previous public works directors didn't know what it was. And I said, well, I've worked on Pueblo. I know it's cast iron the whole way. And they said, well, it's too late to change the bid now. So that's why Mayor Fulmer asked, well, if you didn't know what it was, why didn't you assume it was cast iron instead of assuming it was PVC? They said, we have no answer.
So, go ahead, sir. All right.
All right, so I think a couple things. One is, so you said there's 6,700 linear feet of pipe, but you haven't done a study to determine whether that's it. Was that from the last?
No, we have diamond maps, which has a measuring feature. So I used that, and I went from all 5 wells, brought them all to Pueblo, which is the main street that the water tanks are on, and then measured from Antelope, which is where the furthest north well is, up to the water tanks. So I didn't do all 5 wells separately. I brought all 5 wells to the main road, and then just one pipe going. Okay. So that's based on GIS, yes.
Okay. That's just to get the water to the wells. There's 14,000 feet of cast iron pipe. So ultimately it's 20,000 feet of pipe that we need. So as far as this study goes, we have a couple things. We have an administrative planning grant that does this exact thing. It's up to $25,000, but it's a 50-50. So we're just talking $20,000 here. We could give you up to $10,000. You come up with another. That's really quick. Pretty much a letter requesting lead. Obviously, pretty straightforward. We can turn these around in 2 to 3 weeks. Contract in place. Once there's a study that's done, then it kind of is this determination both your engineering firm of cost estimates. My guess this is over $2 I mean, it is not cheaper, and quite frankly, it's expensive. Right? You can actually residents that existing pipe, there's some benefits there, but I just think it's going to be a bit of a challenge. You were saying your rates right now are $43 a month. Is that unlimited use? Do you have tiered rate structure?
It's tiered based, so in the wintertime, it's 43 for the first 4,000 gallons. In the summer, it's 43 for the first 6,000. And then it goes up based on usage per thousand.
So just for a frame of reference, when we come in, I'll talk a couple of these. We look at average water rates across the state for comparably sized jurisdictions. And I was just looking at for you guys, an average size jurisdiction is 255. So you're actually lower than the average across the state. I'm not saying that's right, wrong, or indifferent, except to say we're looking at need. We're also saying, is the jurisdiction actually making adjustments to be commensurate with what comparable jurisdictions are doing? Doesn't mean you're totally off. The other is, what about AM?
Yeah, based on 2018 study, they said we are a disadvantaged community. But what the numbers are, I don't know.
Okay. So what I would propose are 2 different things. Oh, it isn't? Okay. Talk into it? Okay, I'm sorry. All right, so 2 things I would propose here. One is let's look at your area median income. I think potentially you guys could be qualified for kind of CDBG funding, community development block grant funding. In Elbert County, you guys come directly to the state. You're not an entitlement jurisdiction, so you get state funding. We have 2 rounds that we do. I have one that's a planning round, and the second is a construction round. So we just closed one end of September. I'm talking to the choir here, but we'll have one in February for either design or construction. The beauty of that, you can get up to 600,000. I'll just do the caveat, up to 600,000, but there are some nuances that potentially, if there's some additional funding, we can put some more money into it. The nice thing is there's no match, so it's straight money. Although these are federal dollars, so we have to wait till there's an appropriation that takes place. Sometimes that's a challenge, but normally we're in good shape on community development block grant funds. Again, the beauty is there's no match. The downside is they're federal, so everything's federalized. So you have Davis-Bacon, you have some of the federal requirements. Things we can work through and work with you on that. The other one I'll say is Energy and Mineral Impact Assistance Fund. This is one the county's taken advantage of this over the years. Elizabeth, a number of jurisdictions around here. These are dollars that the grant can be up to $1 million. It has a 50-50 match. So let's just use let's just say it's a $2.5 million project. It's over the $2 million range, so I would recommend, and we can strategize on this, but coming in for $1 million energy impact grant makes a lot of sense. It's a straight grant, it's a reimbursement grant.
we normally have 3 cycles a year. Fortunately, we've had some state budgetary challenges, as everybody's aware of. So we do have one cycle that's going to open up here in the February timeframe. And I'd encourage you guys to do it. I can help walk through that process.
One issue we have with that water project in 2022, we're still paying $32,000 a year on that.
So you issued
our budget is very tight as it is.
State revolving fund loan, is that what it was, or what is it?
I believe so.
Okay. So yeah, so the match is going to be the question because it is 50-50, unless there's just a real financial hardship, and not saying that it isn't. I'm saying that we just need to work through that. The match can come from anywhere. We're quite honestly, kind of agnostic to where it comes from. So there could be the potential where and this is just starting this year, but we used to not be able to use CDBG dollars that we had and match them. Now we've said we'll allow CDBG funds. So if you're awarded CDBG dollars, they could serve as a match towards an energy impact grant, which would be fabulous. I think the other piece to maybe talk about is a state revolving fund loan. It's a low interest loan. It serves as a match as well. So, the nuance to that is this is a 12 to 14 month window from the time you do an application to the time you get a loan closed. There's a delay. And as I've always seen, nothing is going down in price, so cost escalation will just continue. I think those are the things I had right now. I think systematically, the short issue is let's do the study. I mean, I can get you the money really quick. I know the match requirement, and maybe that's the question from the county. If you're willing to assist in that arena, but we can turn around a grant for a study really quickly.
Thank you for that. It's good information to get. Commissioner Schroeder, you got any questions, sir?
Yeah, I'm not sure who's best to answer this. Since the water is still meeting CDBG quality standards, which is questionable, right? Would the picture of what we're trying to do here look different if it started to fail? Would there be more intervention from the state level? More funds available? More?
Yeah.
I don't know what the right question is, but what happens if it goes worse?
Yeah. Obviously, no one wants this thing to fail. There are some emergency money that we have for emergency issues. Mostly they're focused on natural disaster related things, floods, etc. Not saying they couldn't be used in this capacity. I think it would be a really challenging thing to take the dollars or request them when CDPHE, I don't know how that gets passed, but right now, if they're saying you're in compliance, it's a hard one to say there's an emergency, at least in this.
As you can see, as water or the iron settles. So, like I said, a lot of times we take our samples first thing in the morning. So, because we got to drive to Denver, take the samples, get back and do work. So, we take it in the morning when the water hasn't been used. So, a lot of times, it never looks like that when we take the samples. Sure. You know, if I took them in the middle of the afternoon, maybe a different story.
Maybe you should take them in the middle of the afternoon. Next time.
Maybe I'll Denver later in the day.
Well, if we fail one of those tests, the cost to the town could skyrocket on having to take more samples up to Denver constantly, maybe even issuing a boiling one, and then the uproar that we'd have with from the residents then. So we do what we can not to have those tests fail. So you do a first draw morning test, which is industry standard. That's what you're supposed to do, but we're certainly, we don't want those tests to fail because it would cost us a lot of money and a lot of face.
Yeah. Well, usually they require more frequent testing. It just it can be cost prohibitive, but yeah, I mean, again, my general recommendation is have the study done. Let's get what the assessment and the actual overall magnitude of the issue. In parallel, let's talk about rates. Let's talk about your AMI levels. The opportunity to take CDBG dollars would be a great one for y'all. And if we could match those dollars, I mean, even if we could get 6, even 800,000 out of CDBG, come to Energy Impact, use that, come for at least 800,000. So those 50-50, there's 1.6 right there. And then we just need to talk about some other options.
So how do you talk about rates though when the water looks like that?
Yeah, you can't.
The citizens are complaining about the $43, he said, and it's, you know, maybe after they get clean water, oh, hey, we're going to be $60 a month or $55 a month when they see clean water coming out of the tap. But when you have this type of water, how could I can't fathom how you would go to your customer and say, or your citizen and say, hey, we're going to charge you more.
I don't even know how you charge them for that. junk anyway.
I think two things would happen. One is having a study done, says it understands and magnifies what the need is. And then in comparison to that, we'd probably have, what's community outreach discussion here? Because really, there needs to be some conversation about what is the investment that you're making this stuff. I think people just think water comes right out of the faucet, you know, and it's supposed to. And I get it. I think there's some educational stuff going on here, but it's hard to articulate it to folks if there isn't a study that substantiates it, where you have an engineering firm that says, this is what the challenge is, this is how this is to be rectified, and here's the magnitude of the actual impact. And I get it. No one wants to pay more. I think that's just human behavior. But I do think you need to have something substantively to talk to folks about. And obviously I can help, and we can talk about what's a community outreach process, because I personally think that's going to be critical in this conversation.
Yeah. If you came to a citizen and said, hey, if we went forward with this project, we're going to raise your rates to this, we need some additional funding, but you're going to have clean water at the end of the day, I'd sign up for it. Yep.
May I interject? I was wondering maybe even in lieu of, expecting the residents to have that gap close, maybe doing a fundraiser or even asking those large vendor donations, because I know, where to get that other $10,000 to at least get the study going. I almost wonder if that would be more beneficial than putting that burden on the residents.
So you said you could come up with 10, right? So I'm not speaking for other commissioners. I'm just throwing it out there. I'll probably get beat up when I walk out the door. But what if the town could come up with 5, and maybe we could come up with 5? I don't know. It's something we'd have to talk about. Would that be? That would make the 20.
Yeah, we could come up with 5.
Of course, here, this is a work session. We can't make any decisions here. It's something we'll have to discuss later, but I mean, this is critical. I don't know how that passes. Somebody ought to talk to the governor or somebody. Whoever's doing this is not right.
No, you're right. What I can do, if you are looking to go down this route, you guys have a conversation at a future board meeting. I can send the template, what a previous letter has looked like, so you have something to base it off of. This is pretty much 1 to 2 page need. There's a couple of criteria. It's not a big, arduous process. But you get it into me, I'll run it right through the system. We'll have it done. Short order.
I've got a question for Lance. Is this too late to put on the agenda, or do we need to put this on the agenda to have a discussion?
We've got time to post it before Wednesday if that's what the board wants to do. We just need to post the agenda 24 hours in advance.
Right.
We have till 9 a.m. tomorrow.
Okay. Mr. Buck, are you in favor of that?
I'd be in favor of putting it on the agenda.
Mr. Schroeder? Okay, all 3 of us are in favor of that. This is maybe town of Simla people, but they're Elbert County citizens too. So we've got a responsibility.
Sounds good. I'll for you guys' answer.
Okay.
Mayor, what you guys come back with?
Yeah, so in the past 7 years, I've been the mayor of Simla, also doing the town administrator job. I have another full-time job. So we do have a benefit. We just hired a town administrator. We should be able to get more done more quickly than we have in the last 7 years. I got it done. It just took me time. But now we have Jackie, and you give her something, and she's a dog with a bone. She'll take care of it. So
Did he just call you a dog?
she's also my sister-in-law, so I feel comfortable.
All right. Anything else anybody wants to add to this or comments?
I'm good.
Sir, anything else you want
We
to add?
just appreciate your time. Obviously, like our community has been saying this, been very frustrated, and we really want to gain their confidence back. The biggest thing is the financial piece. It's hard for a town to sustain on that for something that's been years and years. The comeback of it, we just don't have it right now. But we really want to show up for our town and do better. And what was mentioned earlier, then we can come to the table and say, let's charge you more. But we got to have a 50-50 now. They've complained. We've heard them. We have to show up, and we need your help to show up.
Okay. Anybody else?
And you do have a current engineering firm you're ready to go with?
Yeah, Element Engineering out of Denver.
Anybody else? Comment this end of the table? Commissioner Buck?
I'd just like to add, I think it could be a win for the citizens, for the town. I think it'll help the town flourish, become more prosperous in the long run if they have, a direction to go and people can see that, hey, if we're making improvements, we can rely on good clean water, things like that. And I think in the long run, that could drive in revenue to the county, get some small businesses out there, and turn that.
Let's get one last question for you. That area where you're talking about the PSI is very low, 22. What happens if, in being a fire chief and firefighter for a long time, if you have a fire down there, you hook up, that pumper hooks up to a hydrant, you're going to drop that water pressure, you're going to bottom out with it.
We recently had a fire 8 months ago, and the fire department said they had plenty of water pressure, but that was not right up there.
Right.
I was down at the lower area. They hooked 2 hoses up to 1 fire hydrant. Like I said, the top is at 22, but as you come downhill, it gets up to 55 pretty quick. So
If you had a fire on top of the hill,
we'd be in
you're in trouble. Yep. Okay, so that's a public safety concern.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I don't have anything else. Anybody want final comments before we wrap this meeting up? I appreciate your time and coming up here. This is a personal mission of mine to see if we can't get something done about this. This is sad. Absolutely sad. You'd think maybe 1930 or something you might have to do that, but this is 2025, so we're going to get it working.
And the risk of overstating, we have actually here for a reason, as a resource to be able to assist and help as we go forward with grant writers. So make sure you all have your contact information to go through. Ashley's done well for us and secured some pretty good grants for us. So, that's certainly something on the county side we want to offer and be able to assist. Takes a special person to go after grants, so it's good to have someone that's good at it.
And Ashley should have some firsthand knowledge of the water.
I actually resided in the town of Simla for 10 years, and I actually had 2 in-home water filters next to each other on the same pipeline, and I actually had to replace both filters on a monthly basis for 10 years. So, and even then, I still had to have deep rock water delivered. It was almost worse than Flint, Michigan. So,
Well, and if we run into roadblocks, I'm sure that we needed to get the media involved in that. We could do that too. We don't go that route yet, but I think we can put some pressure on the people in the government, see what we can do to get some help. All right. Thank you all. I appreciate you being here today. It was nice meeting everyone. I look forward to working with you all. All right. Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Yep, we'll end it. 3.
Replace those filters.